freedom on Earth and everywhere in the universe must be protected and supported. To remain free, humanity has to be self-sufficient, united, and extremely discreet. But we are undermining our self-sufficiency with the overuse of our planet's resources. We are destroying our unity with intractable conflicts, and we are not discreet, broadcasting all our problems far and wide into space. Alien travelers are listening, watching. Travel in the universe is not limited by human science. Extraterrestrials are visiting us and have decided to gain control because we have developed dangerous nuclear weapons and degraded the world's environment. They do not have powerful armies, but they understand our weaknesses and aspirations and can influence our thinking to overtake us without any use of force. They have made incredible promises of salvation, free energy, and advanced technology, but it is all a clever deception. It represents the most dangerous challenge to freedom that we have ever faced. For this reason, we need to tap into the part of us that is still connected to God. Only this deeper intelligence will enable us to remain a free race in the universe. Alien visitors are not enlightened beings here to help humanity. They belong to technological societies and have nothing to do with human spiritual evolution. These visitors are physical beings, vulnerable to the biological contamination of the world. They cannot live in this world, so they need us to manage the infrastructure that we have created on our own planet to use throughout their occupation plan. They have taken many people against their will, subjected them to powerful forms of mind control, and used them to create hybrid individuals to be placed in positions of power in government, commerce, and religion. Advanced races in the universe have recognized that the ability to influence thought is a new panorama of power that can launch a nation to positions of preeminence. People's thinking has been altered. Some have been imprinted with images of human disaster and now seek salvation from extraterrestrials. Many see this visitation as a great spiritual event, but the visitors do not value our freedom and think we are primitive and destructive. They have no regard for our spirituality and see us as merely a tool and a resource. As humanity's instability increases, their offerings will become ever more persuasive because this is how natives are seduced with promises, while their conflicts are exploited and their leadership is undermined. This has happened throughout human history. Like the foolish natives of so many tribes, humanity is accepting these promises and has no idea of the cruelty that an alien governance would bring to the human race. If humanity's native wisdom can make it realize that this is an invasion, it has a great advantage because outright invasion is not allowed in this very civilized region of space. If enough people become aware of the presence of the visitors and refuse their offerings, they must withdraw. The awareness of a deeper consciousness has not been lost within the world. That is what makes us valuable to other free races in the universe and worthy of their support. But our allies in the universe will not interfere in our affairs because they respect our sovereignty. Their assistance will be to alert us on what we need to do. We are not powerless in facing these visitors, and if we realize this great challenge, we will prevail. Nations that value their world, recognizing the danger that is upon them, will prevail. The inner power that God has given us is the foundation where our greater strength can come forth and forge human unity for the preservation of the world and our freedom. There is no greater challenge for our world, because if we fall under alien domination, all our achievements will be futile. It is no accident you are here at this time.